This is a very important moment for the world. I think the people of different continents look to us to get a climate change agreement. I accept it's very difficult, for there are a number of problems that still got to be sorted out. But we will be doing everything we can. We will be working with all countries to make sure we get an agreement. And I'm determined to use all my efforts over the next few days, with meetings tonight and early tomorrow morning, to get the agreement that we need.
But the risks of failure are real, are they?
It's possible that we will not get an agreement, and it's also true that there are many issues to be sorted out. But I'm determined, with the conversations I've had already today with President Obama, with Chancellor Merkel, with President Sarkozy, and of course with Prime Minister Meles of Ethiopia, and now I've been talking to the Prime Minister of Bangladesh. I'm determined to do everything I can to bring the world together.
Carried out. Scientists are even going to the UN now to find out how are we going to answer these aliens from our SETI contacts at NASA.
We see a long line, a couple of star-like things, and a lot of things swimming in the
They believe the UN should do all of this. And so you see it elevates the United Nations to power. And this is very important. It's part of the Iron Mountain agenda.
Illuminated by the sun at such low angles. There's a lot of stray light, and it's getting washed out quickly, but Claude is trying to do a good job here.
It might be argued that a well-armed international police force operating under the authority of such a supernatural court could well serve this purpose. In other words, they're going to set up another threat. This is threat number 3, actually, an omnipresent, virtually omnipotent political or police force. It's an international police force, because remember, if we go into peace, we have to dissolve the nations, because war is the reason we have nations. All right, so the report then that was issued by the State Department, Freedom from War, and the program was to establish a permanent international peace force within the United Nations. In other words, to deliberately bring it up. The peacekeeping capabilities of the United Nations would be sufficiently strong, and the obligations of all states under such an arrangement sufficiently far-reaching as to assure peace and a just settlement of differences in a disarmed world. They're going to use the United Nations to keep the peace. In other words, a world government, which is exactly what Daniel talked about and Jesus talked about, and it is very deadly. During stage 2, states will develop further the peacekeeping processes of the United Nations, to the end that the United Nations can effectively suppress any threat or use of force by anyone, and that would include the American people. It's going to be omnipresent, and it's going to be omnipotent in its ability to handle. And this is what Revelation says, who can make war with the beast? Remember that the U.S. and Russia are to have their internal or militaries turned over to the United Nations in this 3-stage process, and we end up with a UN in total control of the world. A global entity.
He who controls food controls the world. Well, they said in 1962, we're going to work toward total global implementation of Codex Alimentarius on
My God.
Since their arrival, there's been no contact with any of the 29 ships now hovering over the major cities of the world.
Sergeant, I'm FBI. I'm looking for my son.
Everybody is looking for their
son.
Mom!
Don't be frightened. We mean no harm.